Sex, love, and brain chemistry. Why your mind controls your heart. Engaging speech. Have you ever wondered why one person feels impossible to forget, while another fades away so easily? Why a single touch can feel electric and sometimes completely empty? It's not magic. It's not destiny. It's your brain. Every feeling you call love, desire, or connection is being written by chemistry inside your head. When attraction begins, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical linked to motivation, pleasure, and addiction. That's why new love feels intense, obsessive, almost intoxicating. You check your phone constantly. You replay conversations. You crave more. That rush isn't romance. It's your brain rewarding anticipation. Then comes norepinephrine, which makes your heart race and your palms sweat. This is why love can feel like anxiety and excitement at the same time. Your body can't tell the difference between falling in love and being in danger. That's why passion feels thrilling and terrifying, but real love doesn't survive on dopamine alone. That's where oxytocin enters, the bonding hormone. It's released through touch, intimacy, trust, and emotional safety. Oxytocin is what turns passion into attachment. It's why intimacy can make you feel deeply connected or deeply vulnerable. And then there's serotonin. When it drops, you don't just want someone, you start to fixate on them. This is why early love feels obsessive. Your brain literally behaves like it's missing something it needs to survive. This is why sex can feel meaningless with one person and life-changing with another. The difference is in the act. It's the emotional context your brain assigns to it. Love isn't found. It's chemically created, emotionally reinforced, and psychologically maintained. And once you understand that, you stop chasing chaos and start choosing connection. 5 key points of the speech. Dopamine creates desire, not love. Attraction feels addictive because the brain rewards anticipation, not fulfillment. Love and anxiety share the same chemistry. The excitement of romance activates the same systems as fear and risk. Oxytocin turns intimacy into attachment. Emotional safety and touch bond people far deeper than physical attraction alone. Obsession is a chemical imbalance, not destiny. Low serotonin explains why early love can feel consuming and uncontrollable. Sex becomes meaningful through emotional context. The brain decides whether intimacy feels empty or transformative. Dopamine creates desire, not love. When people say they are in love, what they often mean is that they are experiencing a dopamine surge. Dopamine is not the chemical of love. It is the chemical of wanting. It drives motivation, anticipation, and pursuit. This is why attraction feels exciting, obsessive, and sometimes uncontrollable in the beginning. Dopamine is released when the brain senses possibility rather than certainty. The chase, the mystery, the what if, all of this fuels dopamine. That's why unanswered texts feel more powerful than long conversations, and why mixed signals can feel intoxicating. Your brain isn't responding to the person as they are. It's responding to the potential reward they represent. This is also why new connections often feel stronger than stable ones. In the early stages, nothing is guaranteed. Every interaction feels like a win or a loss. Dopamine spikes in uncertainty because the brain is wired to reward behaviors that might lead to something valuable. Love, in this stage, feels thrilling because your brain is gambling, and it likes the risk. But dopamine has a weakness. It cannot sustain connection. The brain adapts. What once felt electrifying becomes normal. Texts that once made your heart race now feel routine. This isn't because love is dying. It's because dopamine is designed to push you forward, not keep you there. Dopamine says, go get it. It never says, stay. This is where many people get confused. When dopamine fades, they assume the relationship is broken. They chase new attraction, new faces, new excitement, believing love should always feel intense. In reality, they are chasing dopamine, not intimacy. They confuse desire with depth. Dopamine also explains why emotionally unavailable people can feel more attractive. Distance, unpredictability, and inconsistency keep the brain in anticipation mode. The less you know, the more your mind fills in the gaps. The brain rewards the chase, even when it's unhealthy. That's why people often crave what they can't have. Not because it's better, but because it's uncertain. Understanding dopamine changes how you date. You stop romanticizing anxiety. You stop mistaking obsession for connection. You realize that intense chemistry doesn't mean compatibility. It means your brain is stimulated. Real love begins after dopamine quiets down. When the chase ends, other systems take over: bonding, trust, safety, and emotional presence. If dopamine is the spark, love is the fire that requires fuel, not friction. When you understand this, you stop asking, "Why doesn't it feel like the beginning anymore?" And you start asking, "Is this something I want to build?" That shift from craving to choosing is where real connection lives. Love and anxiety share the same chemistry. One of the most confusing parts of attraction is how easily love can feel like anxiety. Your heart races, your stomach tightens, your thoughts spiral, and suddenly you're convinced this intensity must mean something deep and meaningful. Biologically, your brain doesn't clearly separate excitement from fear. It uses many of the same chemical pathways for both. When attraction begins, your brain releases norepinephrine along with dopamine. Norepinephrine heightens alertness. It sharpens focus. It prepares the body for action. This is the same chemical release during stress and danger. That's why falling for someone can feel energizing and unsettling at the same time. Your body is activated, not calm. This is why early love often feels dramatic. You overthink messages. Silence feels loud. Small changes feel threatening. You're not crazy. Your nervous system is on high alert. The brain is trying to protect you while also pushing you toward reward. Pleasure and fear are happening simultaneously. This overlap explains why emotional unpredictability can feel magnetic. When someone is inconsistent, your brain stays activated. You don't know where you stand, so your body remains alert. That alertness feels like intensity, and intensity gets mistaken for passion. In reality, your nervous system is responding to uncertainty, not connection. Many people grow up associating love with emotional tension. If affection was inconsistent or conditional early in life, the brain learns that closeness comes with anxiety. Later, calm relationships feel boring, while chaotic ones feel familiar. The body confuses emotional safety with emotional flatness, and anxiety with love. This is also why breakups can feel physically painful. When attachment is threatened, the brain activates the same regions associated with physical pain. Love isn't just emotional, it's neurological. Losing someone doesn't just hurt your heart, it destabilizes your nervous system. But here's the critical truth. Anxiety is not a sign of depth. Intensity is not intimacy. A racing heart doesn't mean a healthy bond. It means your body is activated. And activation alone cannot sustain love. As relationships mature, healthy love begins to shift away from constant arousal toward emotional regulation. Calm becomes present. Safety replaces suspense. Safety replaces suspense. Trust replaces vigilance. This doesn't mean passion disappears. It means it stabilizes. People who mistake anxiety for love often feel restless in healthy relationships. Without emotional spikes, they assume something is missing. What's actually missing is chaos. Their nervous system hasn't learned how to recognize peace as connection. Understanding this changes everything. You stop chasing emotional roller coasters. You stop interpreting nervousness as chemistry. You start paying attention to how someone makes your body feel over time, not just in moments of intensity. Real love doesn't keep you on edge. It doesn't make you guess. It doesn't live in constant alertness. Real love allows your nervous system to rest, and that calm is not boredom. It's safety. Oxytocin turns intimacy into attachment. Attraction can start in an instant, but attachment takes chemistry, time, and safety. The chemical responsible for turning moments of closeness into emotional bonds is oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is not about excitement or obsession. It's about connection and trust. Oxytocin is released through physical touch, eye contact, vulnerability, emotional honesty, and sexual intimacy. It's what makes someone feel familiar, comforting, and emotionally significant. This is why intimacy can feel grounding rather than thrilling. It doesn't rush your system, it settles it. Unlike dopamine, which thrives on uncertainty, oxytocin grows in consistency. Repeated positive experiences train the brain to associate a person with safety. Over time, the nervous system relaxes around them. Their presence becomes regulating rather than stimulating. This is why intimacy creates attachment, even when logic says it shouldn't. You may know someone isn't right for you, yet feel deeply bonded after emotional or physical closeness. Your brain isn't evaluating compatibility, it's responding to chemistry. Oxytocin doesn't ask, is this healthy? It asks, is this close? Sex plays a powerful role here, not because of morality, but because of biology. During sexual intimacy, oxytocin is released in large amounts. This doesn't automatically mean love, but it does increase emotional bonding. This is why people can feel unexpectedly attached after sex, even if the connection was meant to be casual. The body doesn't understand intention, it understands closeness. Oxytocin also increases emotional vulnerability. When bonding deepens, so does sensitivity. Rejection hurts more. Distance feels heavier. The same hormone that creates closeness also creates risk. Attachment opens the door to both connection and pain. This is where emotional safety becomes critical. Oxytocin bonds strongest in environments of trust, respect, and reliability. When intimacy happens without safety, the bond can feel confusing or even destabilizing. You feel attached but not secure, close but not protected. In healthy relationships, oxytocin supports long-term connection. It encourages cooperation, empathy, and emotional presence. It's the chemistry behind loyalty, comfort, and deep affection. It's why long-term partners can feel like home. But oxytocin alone isn't enough. Without boundaries, communication, and mutual care, attachment can turn into dependency. Bonding doesn't guarantee health, it guarantees connection. The quality of that connection depends on behavior, not chemistry. Understanding oxytocin helps you make sense of your emotional experiences. You stop judging yourself for bonding quickly. You recognize that attachment isn't weakness, it's biology. And with awareness, biology becomes something you can work with, not be controlled by. Real intimacy isn't just about closeness. It's about safe closeness. And when safety is present, attachment becomes love. Not a trap, but a choice. Obsession is a chemical imbalance, not destiny. When love feels overwhelming, when someone occupies your thoughts constantly, when silence feels unbearable, when your mood depends on their attention, it's easy to believe you found something rare and powerful. But what you're often experiencing isn't fate or soul-level connection. It's a temporary chemical imbalance in the brain. One of the key chemicals involved is serotonin. Serotonin helps regulate mood, emotional stability, and impulse control. In the early stages of attraction, serotonin levels often drop. This decrease creates mental fixation, thoughts loop. The mind becomes repetitive. You don't just like the person, you can't stop thinking about them. This is why early love can resemble obsessive behavior. You reread messages. You analyze tone. You replay moments over and over. Neurologically, this state mirrors patterns seen in obsessive compulsive thinking. The brain isn't calm. It's searching for relief. The brain believes that attention from this person will restore balance, so it keeps pushing your focus toward them. This doesn't mean the person is uniquely special. It means your brain has temporarily assigned them the role of emotional regulator. Their presence soothes the imbalance. Their absence intensifies it. This is also why rejection feels so devastating in early attachment. When the source of perceived regulation pulls away, the brain experiences distress similar to withdrawal. It's not just emotional pain, it's chemical. Your nervous system is trying to regain equilibrium. Many people misinterpret this obsession as proof of deep love. They think if it feels this intense, it must be real. But intensity doesn't equal compatibility. It equals imbalance. Healthy love does not hijack your ability to function. Obsession also thrives on uncertainty. When you don't know where you stand, serotonin remains low, and the mind stays fixated. Mixed signals keep the loop alive. Clarity, on the other hand, often breaks obsession, which is why some people lose interest once things become stable. This explains why people sometimes feel less excited when a relationship becomes secure. What's actually happening is chemical regulation. The brain is stabilizing. The obsession fades because it no longer needs to hyperfocus. Understanding this can be freeing. You stop romanticizing suffering. You stop believing that pain is proof of connection. You realize that peace is not the enemy of love. Imbalance is. This doesn't mean early obsession is wrong or shameful. It's human, but it's not a compass. It doesn't tell you where to go, only that your brain is out of balance. Real love emerges when serotonin stabilizes, when thoughts widen again, when your world doesn't shrink down to one person. Love should add to your life, not consume it. When you understand that obsession is chemistry, not destiny, you gain power. You stop chasing intensity. You start choosing stability. And that choice is where lasting connection begins. Sex becomes meaningful through emotional context. Sex, by itself, is a physical act. What gives it meaning or leaves it feeling empty is the emotional context your brain assigns to it. Two people can experience the same act in completely different ways, not because of technique or attraction, but because of what their mind connects to the experience. Your brain is constantly asking one question: what does this mean for me? And it answers that question using emotion, memory, expectation, and safety. When sex happens in a context of trust, desire, presence, and mutual care, the brain links the experience to connection. Chemicals like oxytocin deepen bonding, dopamine reinforces pleasure, and the nervous system relaxes. Sex feels grounding, affirming, and emotionally rich. It doesn't just stimulate the body, it integrates with the mind. But when sex happens in a context of distance, validation seeking, pressure, or uncertainty, the brain interprets it differently. The body may still feel pleasure, but afterward there's often emptiness, confusion, or emotional drop. This isn't because sex is wrong, it's because the brain didn't register safety or meaning. This explains why casual intimacy can feel empowering for some people and hollow for others. It's not about morals or rules. It's about alignment between emotional needs and behavior. When your actions contradict what your nervous system needs, the experience feels off, even if it looked good on the surface. Sex also amplifies whatever emotional state already exists. If you feel desired, it intensifies closeness. If you feel unsure, it magnifies insecurity. If you're seeking validation, it temporarily soothes, but often leaves you wanting more. Sex doesn't create meaning on its own. It reveals what's already there. This is why sex can feel transformative with one person and forgettable with another. The difference isn't chemistry alone, it's emotional resonance. Feeling seen, chosen, and emotionally present changes how the brain processes intimacy. Without that, the experience stays physical. Modern culture often separates sex from emotion, but the brain doesn't fully agree. Even when people say they want no strings attached, the nervous system still reacts to closeness. Suppressing emotional response doesn't eliminate it, it delays it. And when awareness lags behind biology, confusion follows. Understanding emotional context brings clarity. You stop asking, why didn't this feel good even though I wanted it? And start asking, what was my emotional state when this happened? This awareness allows choice. You begin to align intimacy with intention. You recognize that sex isn't empty or powerful by default. It becomes one or the other through meaning. Healthy intimacy happens when desire and emotional safety meet. When your body says yes and your nervous system agrees. When sex isn't used to escape loneliness, earn affection, or prove worth, but to express connection. Sex doesn't decide your value. It reflects your emotional environment. And when that environment is grounded, safe, and intentional, intimacy stops feeling confusing and starts feeling complete. Give me conclusion of speech into 5 long paragraph. Also give me Thank you and goodbye note. Conclusion of the speech. When we step back and look at sex and love through the lens of brain chemistry, one truth becomes clear. Our strongest emotions are not random or mysterious. Desire, attachment, obsession, and intimacy are guided by biological systems designed to protect us, motivate us, and help us bond. Understanding this doesn't make love less meaningful. It makes it more honest. When you know what your brain is doing, you stop being confused by your feelings and start becoming curious about them. Dopamine taught us that intensity is about wanting, not loving. Not loving. Anxiety showed us that excitement and fear often wear the same face. Oxytocin revealed why closeness can feel comforting and risky at the same time. Serotonin explained why obsession feels powerful but unstable. And emotional context reminded us that sex is never just physical. It carries meaning because the mind gives it meaning. Each of these systems plays a role, but none of them alone defines real love. Real connection begins when chemistry meets awareness. When you stop chasing the rush and start noticing how someone makes your body and nervous system feel over time. Love isn't proven by chaos, obsession, or constant intensity. It's revealed through consistency, safety, and emotional presence. What lasts is not what overwhelms you. It's what supports you. Understanding your brain gives you power. You stop romanticizing pain. You stop mistaking anxiety for passion and obsession for destiny. You begin to choose relationships that regulate you instead of destabilize you. Love becomes less about losing yourself and more about becoming more grounded in who you already are. Sex, love, and connection don't need to be confusing or destructive. When you understand the chemistry behind them, you can move through relationships with clarity instead of fear. You learn to honor both desire and safety, both passion and peace. And in that balance, love stops being something that happens to you. It becomes something you consciously build. Thank you and goodbye note. Thank you so much for giving me your time and attention. I hope this conversation helped you understand your emotions a little better and see your experiences with more clarity and compassion. Remember, awareness changes everything. Until next time, take care of your mind, your heart, and your connections. Goodbye, and thank you for listening.